Is history written by the victors? Columbus Day historically is a celebration of Christopher Columbus's discovery of America. A couple questions I want to answer are, why is Christopher Columbus celebrated? What is the importance of a day like Columbus Day? And what is the true history behind what people think they're celebrating? Historically speaking, did Christopher Columbus discover the Americas? Not really. Is Christopher Columbus somebody that we should be celebrating? Definitely not. When you ask the question, is history written by the victors? You can very easily find a lot of historical instances where history is not written by the victors, and a lot of time history is not written by those that are creating it. When you look to the Mongols, historically, their history is written by the people that they pillaged and attacked. In fact, for a large portion of the Mongol rule at their peak, they did not have a writing system. The Vikings, very similarly, a lot of their history is written by the people that they conquered, raided, and pillaged as well. Much of the historical context we get on the Vikings comes from the Anglo-Saxons, the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, those that wrote for the English kings during that time, and a lot of their history as pirates come from the people that they raided and pillaged in Africa and the Middle East. One of the contributions to celebrations of days like today is what's known as the Doctrine of Discovery. The Doctrine of Discovery was instituted by international law during the times when European countries, specifically monarchies, were discovering new territories. The rule allowed that if you discovered these new territories, you automatically had rights to that land. When you research things like the Scramble for Africa, where the European colonies divided up almost 90% of the geographical territory in Africa, when you look at the history of the native nations, America's expansion west, Unsettling Truths, the ongoing dehumanizing legacy of the Doctrine of Discovery by Mark Charles and Soong-Chang Rah, talks about the importance of pushing back against the Doctrine of Discovery. Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, Indian History of the American West by D. Brown, talks about the calculated and systematic destruction of an entire group of native nation people. Indian Givers, How the Indians of the Americas Transformed the World by Jack Weatherford. There's a paragraph in here that I think is really important that I read and share. In the 500 years since Columbus's voyage to America, the people of the world have benefited greatly from the American Indians, but the world may have lost even more than it gained. Some information that died with the old Yuquai woman and the hundreds of exterminated tribes, nations, and cities may be lost forever. Some of it may be retrieved by coming generations of scholars who have the opportunity to study our past. Sadly, however, we know much more about the building of the pyramids of Egypt, thousands of miles and years from us, than we know about the pyramid builders of the Mississippi. We know more about the language of the long-gone Hittites than we do about the still-living Quechua speakers descended from the Incas. We know more about the poetry of the ancient Chinese than about the poems of the Nahuatls. We can decipher the clay tablets of Mesopotamia better than we can the stone tablets of Mesoamerica. We understand the medical practices of ancient Babylon better than those of the living Dakotas. We understand more about the interbreeding of the Angles and the Saxons than we do about the mixing of the Indians in America with the European and African immigrants. We know more about the Greeks' mythological tribes of the Amazons than we know about the dying Yuquis of the Amazon. The history and the culture of America remains a mystery, still terra incognita after 500 years. Columbus arrived in the New World in 1492, but America has yet to be discovered.